Hey, this is my first video for Stuff I Like blog posts, and I was going to do it on strength finders and why I think that they're so valuable for you as an individual, but also why they might benefit you in your relationships. And I brought my friend here, expert strength finders guy. No, he has done a lot of leadership training and used the strength finders material in a huge way. And so I asked him to come alongside me and teach me about my strengths when I was trying to figure out my role in this position for love and respect now and how I can do it better. And so we got together and he made me weep. No, but so basically the reason I had this idea of talking to you guys about it for your relationships is because I feel like one of the main themes that I talk about a lot is the need for introspection. And I feel like we either go on one extreme where we're totally narcissistic and think about ourselves or have self-pity, or the other extreme where we distract ourselves to death with technology, and really we need to fall somewhere in the middle. And I think a healthy way to do that is taking different assessment tools to understand yourself better. A lot of you have probably heard of Myers-Briggs, Strength Finders, Enneagram, DISC, different things like that. So tell me how you think, Mr. Ben Thomas, that Strength Finders could positively affect or play a role in people's relationships.
Well, I think like Joy said, I think any sort of test that's going to help you understand yourself better is going to be helpful in any relationship that you have, because the better you know yourself, the better you're going to be able to relate with someone else. Strengths Finder specifically, I think, is really helpful because as you understand your areas of strength and you understand the person that you're with, their areas of strength, I think that you can really help build on having a partnership together and a relationship together that's kind of utilizing what God has given you.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so for me, understanding my strengths has really helped a lot, even in my relationship with my girlfriend, and just trying to recognize, hey, this is maybe where we're having some communication problems.
Do you guys have a lot of the same strengths?
No, we have very, very different strengths, which I think is probably pretty common in relationships.
Do you think if you didn't have this tool, there would have been more conflicts because you wouldn't have understood where each other was coming from?
Yeah, I think we wouldn't have understand why we were having our conflicts.
Yeah.
There's certain things. One of my top strengths is a strength called strategic, which is where I tend to think through things very fast and I kind of make a decision on something. And it's not that I haven't thought through it. It's just I come to the conclusions very quickly, and I can't necessarily label why or how I got there. I think sometimes my girlfriend, she'll feel like I wasn't listening, or how did you just come up with a decision that quick? I don't think you really knew what I was saying. You weren't really listening to what I was saying. In my mind, I'm going, yeah. In my mind, I'm going, I totally was. I was. This is just the conclusion that I kind of came to. I don't even know if I could tell you I got there, but I feel like this is the best way to go. And so for her to understand that, I think is helpful. And then she's got certain strengths, responsibility, things like that, that for me, at times have been really difficult in our relationship. She's definitely, she's a charger. She's organized, and I am not organized. I am just everywhere. But to understand some of those things about her helps me understand what drives her, and so that's been really helpful.
Do you feel like she's more empathetic then in situations like that? If she's super organized and she now knows, Ben's a good guy, he just doesn't have the same gift that I do.
Yeah.
That lends itself.
Well, empathy is one of her strengths, so that so that helps a lot in those situations. But even looking at your strengths and having conversations about that has been really interesting, and just thinking through how you do what you do and why you do what you do and what drives you. And I think that being able to understand those things, I think, really makes sense, not only in just what we're doing with work, but definitely in our relationships.
Yeah, okay, so let's do that. Let's say, we may have to edit some of this out, but let's say you know my strengths and you can share what my strengths are. But I would like to know, if a guy was dating me right now, what things he might encounter positively or negatively due to the way that I embody my strengths.
Well, I would say that I'd like to speak more to the positive first, and I think part of it is because strengths is really the desire for strengths, is that you're really focusing on your strengths. There's so many tests out there and things that are like, this is what I do wrong, this is what I'm bad at, and everybody works so hard to try to get better at the things that they're bad at. Well, some of us just naturally, it's not our gifting, it's not our strengths. And if we focus on really developing those things that we're strong in, it can be really helpful.
Yeah.
I think that Joy's strengths, if you're familiar with strengths, as activator, which is that she likes to take action. She doesn't like to just sit around and go, okay, let's talk about where we're going to go for dinner. It's like, we're all hungry, let's get going, let's go somewhere. She's got responsibility as one of her strengths, and to be she just takes responsibility, the things that she has, that she's in charge of, it's important to her to really keep a reputation of, when I say I'm going to get something done, I'm going to get it done. And so she takes that responsibility seriously. Intellection is one of her strengths, which doesn't mean that she's super smart, obviously.
When he told me, I was like, oh, I have intellection. He's like, it doesn't mean you're smart.
It means that she likes to think. So people with strong intellection, they like to sit and muse about all the different things that are going on in the world, whether it's a project that they're working on or a relationship that they're in. They need that quiet time and that time to think to themselves, and they just really enjoy thinking, and they need that space, that quietness. In fact, an example, I was just thinking about this. I was looking at my iPhone earlier. And that's not an iPhone plug. I just said that by accident. But this is an example of even intellection for her, that she sits and thinks. I know you're gonna laugh. But this is an example of something she sent me a while back, because we were gonna get lunch and talk. Actually, I think we were gonna talk about strengths, and I was just like, oh, let's go to this place, Produce Row or whatever. And then she's obviously thinking about this at home, because I got this at like 10 o'clock at night, and it was like, oh, I was thinking about Produce Row, but it gets really crowded and loud at lunch, and I do not function well in those environments. How about side door between MLK and Grand on Washington? And this is an example, just as far as...
You guys don't do that?
Intellection, she's always thinking. She's always thinking about different things. She wants to be responsible for what she's doing, and so she really wants to make sure that she's somewhere she can think clearly, she can process clearly, and that's an example of how, within the context of, if you were in a relationship with somebody, there'd probably be lots and lots and lots of texts like that of, oh yeah, we thought about doing this, but let's do this. I've been really thinking about this lately, and I don't know if this is the best place to go. And it's like, man, do you ever stop? Let's just relax. So, and people that tend to have intellection, they don't want to have just a casual conversation about nothing. Usually, they want to really talk about life and seriousness, which also fits into, relator is one of her strong strengths. And people who are relators, it's not like they're just super relational gurus and they're everywhere all the time. They like to meet with tons of people. That would tend to be what they would call woo. That's one of my strengths. A room of people that I don't know is a room of opportunities. You're an opportunity. I mean you right now. But no, for Joy,
gmail.com.
But for Joy, being a relator is that you really enjoy and value your close friendships. You're not afraid of intimacy. You want to connect with people deeply, and so you want to talk about things that really matter. And so to get in just a casual conversation with tons of people, not that she can't do that, but she's going to tend to gravitate towards those people in her life who she can sit down over a cup of coffee and really talk about life, get down to what's really going on.
If a guy doesn't have all these things that I'm dating, how can I express that these are my strengths with still being open to, like, understanding that he's different than that. Mm-hmm. He may not want to have all the details. Yeah. He may not want to have these deep conversations. Should I only date someone? I mean, you're dating someone that's different than you, so yes. What do I do with this?
That's where I'd say it's good to know your strengths and not placing your strengths on other people. For instance, with relator, as Joy's a strong relator, if I wasn't a relator and we were dating, I might feel pressure that it's always got to be this intense, deep conversation. And sometimes I just want to watch, chitty chitty bang bang and eat popcorn and not really necessarily have this intense conversation. And she may be like, oh,
I like chitty chitty bang bang.
It's one of the best movies ever. But that's going to be something where if you understand that, then you can understand I'm putting too much of this strength on him and my desire for that, and I need to back off a little bit, because I need to recognize that maybe he is woo and he wants to go out to a party and meet tons of new people, and I need to sometimes not always just want to have an intense conversation between us, but give him some freedom to go out and meet lots of new people.
And I need to be able to understand myself enough to say, okay, this is the third party this week. I support you going to the party, but I'm going to stay at home.
Exactly.
Setting those boundaries.
That's exactly right. And so that's that communication piece where if you understand those things, your relationship can be that much more of a positive influence in your own life and make you feel a lot less stressed about how you guys are interacting. And I think that's been definitely a positive for me. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think this is a good launching pad. If you're dating someone, take this test, Strength Finders, to understand yourself. It'll give you conversation conversations to have, deep if you're like me, not so deep. No, I'm not saying you guys aren't deep. No, I'm just saying, but let them be a starting point. But one thing that I do want to caution you with is that it is very attractive to take these tests and then put yourself in a box. So I just recently took this Strength Finders test again, and I have 3 different ones than I had 3 years ago. We're always evolving, we're always changing, we're creatures in Christ, we're going to be striving for different things. Different jobs are going to cause us to have different strengths come out, so you're not limited to this. So if you're dating someone who you do this and then they put you in a box in an unhealthy way, that can be my one caution. But other than that, I think this is fantastic, and thank you for coming in, Mr. Expert.
You're welcome.